Fort Lewis is a United States military facility located 9.1 miles south-southwest of Tacoma, Washington, under the jurisdiction of the United States Army Joint Base Garrison, Joint Base Louisa-McChord. It was merged with the United States Air Force's McChord Air Force Base on February 1, 2010 into a joint base as a result of Base Realignment and Closure Commission recommendations of 2005. Joint Base Lewis-McChord is a training and mobilization center for all services and is the only Army power projection base west of the Rocky Mountains. Its geographic location provides rapid access to the deep water ports of Tacoma, Olympia and Seattle for deploying equipment. Units can be deployed from McChord Field, and individuals and small groups can also use nearby SeaTac Airport. The strategic location of the base provides Air Force units with the ability to conduct combat and humanitarian airlift with the C-17 Globemaster III. Joint Base Garrison. The Joint Base Garrison operates the installation on behalf of the warfighting units, families and extended military community who depend on JBLM for support. The mission of the unit is to provide support to mission commanders and the Joint Base community, to serve as an enabler to the soldiers as they train and project America's combat power, and to make JBLM the station of choice for American soldiers and their families. With an Army Joint Base Commander and an Air Force Deputy Joint Base Commander, the Garrison supports the installation through directorates and agencies that provide a full range of city services and quality of life functions. Everything from facilities maintenance, recreation and family programs to training support and emergency services. The major organizations that make up the bulk of the Joint Base Garrison include, Directorates of Public Works, Logistics, Family and Morale, Welfare and Recreation, Human Resources, Emergency Services, Plans and Training Security and Plans. Additional staff offices that support the installation mission include the Joint Base Public Affairs Office, the Religious Support Office, the Resource Management Office, Equal Employment Opportunity Office, the Installation Safety Office and the Plans Analysis and Integration Office. Other partners who work closely with the Joint Base Garrison include the Civilian Personnel Advisory Center, the Mission and Installation Contracting Command and Joint Personal Property Shipping Office. 3 military units support the Joint Base Garrison. 1st Joint Mobilization Brigade provides command and control and host unit support to mobilizing, deploying and demobilizing reserve component units from all military services. 627th Air Base Group provides command and control and administrative oversight to the airmen who perform installation support duties on behalf of the Garrison. Headquarters and Headquarters Company, Joint Base Garrison, provides administrative oversight to the Army personnel in the Garrison and supports newly arrived soldiers during their in-processing period. JBLM soldiers receive medical care through on-base Madigan healthcare system facilities such as Madigan Army Medical Center, the Okubo Clinic, and the Nisqually Clinic. JBLM airmen receive medical care at the McChord Clinic as well as Madigan Army Medical Center. JBLM Main and JBLM North equals JBLM has more than 25,000 soldiers and civilian workers. The post supports over 120,000 military retirees and more than 29,000 family members living both on and off post. Fort Lewis proper contains 86,000 acres. The Yakima Training Center covers 324,000 acres. JBLM Main and North have abundant high-quality, close-in training areas, including 115 live-fire ranges. Additional training space is available at the Yakima Training Center in eastern Washington, including maneuver areas and additional live-fire ranges. In 2009, the former Fort Lewis Regional Correction Facility was remodeled and renamed the Northwest Joint Regional Correctional Facility. The facility houses minimum and medium security prisoners from all branches of the U.S. Armed Forces. Also adjacent to the post is Camp Murray. Overview: Fort Lewis, named after Meriwether Lewis of the Lewis and Clark Expedition, is one of the largest and most modern military reservations in the United States. Consisting of 87,000 acres of prairie land cut from the glacier-flattened Nisqually Plain, it is the premier military installation in the Northwest and is the most requested duty station in the Army. History. Fort Lewis was originally established in 1917 with the passage of a Pierce County bond measure to purchase 70,000 acres of land to donate to the federal government for permanent use as a military installation. A portion of the initial land was taken from the Nisqually tribe's reservation. In 1927, Pierce County passed another bond measure to establish a military airfield just north of Fort Lewis. The airfield, called Tacoma Field, opened in 1930 and was renamed McChord Field in 1940. McChord Field separated from Fort Lewis when the U.S. Air Force was created in 1947 and was subsequently renamed McChord Air Force Base. The two bases operated independently of one another for more than 60 years before merging in 2010. Fort Lewis began as Camp Lewis in 1917 when the citizens of Pierce County voted by an 8-to-1 margin to bond themselves for $2 million to buy 68,721 acres of land. They donated the land to the federal government for military use. The only stipulation was that the tract be used as a permanent Army post. Captain David L. Stone and his staff arrived at the campsite May 26, 1917. And a few days later the initial construction began. The entire camp was ready for occupancy a month ahead of schedule. In 90 days, Stone had supervised the construction of a city of 757 buildings and 422 other structures, all lighted and heated for 60,000 men. The first recruits moved into their new barracks on September 5, 1917, exactly 2 months after the post-building plan had been handed to the contractors. When they implemented auction of the new cantonment, workmen subscribed $4,000 to build the main gate which is still standing. The arch was built of fieldstone and squared logs resembling the old blockhouses which stood in the northwest as forts. Some 60,000 men, including the 13th and 91st Divisions, moved into the hastily constructed cantonment to train for World War I. Recruited largely from the northwest, the 91st was considered Washington's own. In 1917, Pierce County, through the process of condemnation proceedings, took 3,370 acres of the Nisqually Indian Reservation for the Fort Lewis Military Reserve. The following 2 years saw tremendous activity at Camp Lewis as men mobilized and trained for war service. Thousands of the nation's youth learned to know Camp Lewis in the state of Washington. With the conclusion of the war, activities at Lewis ground to a standstill. Camp Lewis passed from the hands of Pierce County and became the property of the federal government when the deed for 62,432 acres was recorded in the county auditor's office in Tacoma. Brigadier General David L. Stone, who had supervised the original construction of Fort Lewis as a captain, returned as its commanding general in 1936, serving until 1937. The project of constructing an Army airfield, which later became McChord Air Force Base, directly north of the Fort Lewis installation, received approval as a WPA project in January 1938, and $61,730 was allocated for construction. The allocation provided for clearing, grading, and leveling a runway 6,000 feet long by 600 feet wide. From 1942 to 1943, 42 Japanese, German and Italian Americans were held at Fort Lewis as part of the government's enemy alien internment program during World War II. The Japanese and Italian internees were transferred to Fort Missoula and the Germans to Fort Lincoln, and the temporary detention facility closed on March 30, 1943. At the conclusion of World War II, the northwest staging area of Fort Lewis became a separation center and discharged its first soldiers in October 1945. Sometime in the early 1960s Interstate 5 was built through the fort, separating the northwest corner of the fort, and creating North Fort. With the departure of the 4th Infantry Division for Vietnam in 1966, Fort Lewis once again became a personnel transfer and training center. In 1972, the 9th Infantry Division was reactivated, and trained there until its deactivation in 1991. The Fort Lewis Military Museum was established in 1972 to preserve and document the post's history. The base received much media attention in the wake of the Kandahar massacre, committed by a Fort Lewis soldier in March 2012. Major units The United States Army One Corps commands most Army units at Joint Base Lewis McChord and conducts planning and liaison with other assigned active and reserve component units located in the continental United States. It is one of 4 Corps headquarters in the active Army, and one of 3 based in the continental United States. I Corps has been designated as one of the active Army's contingency corps. I Corps stays prepared to deploy on short notice worldwide to command up to 5 divisions or a joint task force. Since I Corps was assigned to Fort Lewis in 1981, soldiers from its units have participated in Operation Just Cause in Panama, Desert Shield and Desert Storm during the Persian Gulf War, Operation Provide Comfort for Kurdish Refugees, Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan. They helped with the restoration of order following the riots in Los Angeles, participated in Operation Safe Harbor in NAS Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, for Haitian migrants, supported relief efforts following Hurricane Andrew in Florida and Hurricane Inky in Hawaii, and played a significant role in Operation Restore Hope in Somalia and in restoring peace in Kosovo. I Corps also contributed to the command structure of Operation Desert Storm with the I Corps commander, Lieutenant General Calvin Waller, and the Deputy I Corps commander, Major General Paul Schwartz, assisting General H. Norman Schwarzkopf, the commander of American forces and overall commander of coalition forces in Operation Desert Storm. January 15, 2003, marked the 85th anniversary of the activation of the American Army Corps in Neufchâteau, France. The Corps assumed tactical responsibility for troops fighting on the Western Front July 4, 1918. I Corps participated in battles during the Aisne-Marne Offensive, the Saint-Mihiel Offensive and the Battle of Meuse-Argonne. After World War I, I Corps was disbanded at Tournai, France in 1919. In 1981, I Corps was reactivated at Fort Lewis. On October 12, 1999, General Eric K. Shinzaki, Chief of Staff of the Army, announced I Corps would lead the acceleration of Army transformation, training and the initial creation of the first 2 Stryker Brigade combat teams at Fort Lewis. Since September 11, 2001, I Corps and Fort Lewis assets have been active in providing support for global war on terrorism operations, including Operation Noble Eagle, Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom. On February 5, 2004, Task Force Olympia was activated, as a sub-element of I Corps headquarters with the mission to command forward deployed units in Iraq. This marked the first time that I Corps had forward soldiers in combat since the end of the Korean War. Task Force Olympia included units from all 3 components of the Army as well as Marine and Australian officers. Task Force Olympia's subordinate units included the 3D Stryker Brigade Combat Team, 2D Infantry Division, which deployed for Iraq on November 8, 2003, and returned to Fort Lewis after 1 year of combat duty, and the 1st Brigade, 25th Infantry Division, which departed Fort Lewis on September 15, 2004, for 1 year and returned September 2005. On June 1, 2006, the 1st Brigade, 25th Infantry Division cased its colors and became the 2D Cavalry Regiment, Stryker Brigade combat team with its home station in Germany. A new unit then uncased the colors of its new designation on June 1, 2006, the 4th Brigade, 2D Infantry Division. Subordinate units assigned to Fort Lewis are JBLM Main and JBLM North JBLM has more than 25,000 soldiers and civilian workers. The post supports over 120,000 military retirees and more than 29,000 family members living both on and off post. Fort Lewis proper contains 86,000 acres. The Yakima Training Center covers 324,000 acres. JBLM Main and North have abundant high-quality, close-in training areas, including 115 live fire ranges. Additional training space is available at the Yakima Training Center in eastern Washington, including maneuver areas and additional live fire ranges. In 2009, the former Fort Lewis Regional Correction Facility was remodeled and renamed the Northwest Joint Regional Correctional Facility. The facility houses minimum and medium security prisoners from all branches of the U.S. Armed Forces. During the summer months, JBLM North hosts the Leader Development and Assessment Course, a capstone program for the U.S. Army's ROTC program. Also adjacent to the post is Camp Murray. Yakima Training Center equals. The Yakima Training Center is a major sub-installation of JBLM, and provides a full range of training lands and ranges to active and reserve component units. Encompassing more than 320,000 acres, YTC is a world-class facility. The training center is high desert, and is covered with sagebrush, volcanic formations, dry gulches and large rock outcroppings. YTC has vast flat valleys separated by intervening ridges which are suited to large-scale mechanized or motorized forces. Much of the steeper terrain resembles areas of Afghanistan. 25 ranges, including the state-of-the-art multi-purpose range complex and shoot house, are available for individual or collective training. Prior to 1941, the area consisted of ranches and a few scattered silica mines. Just before World War II, the Army's need for a large training and maneuver area became apparent, and the Army negotiated with landowners to lease 160,000 acres for the Yakima anti-aircraft artillery range. Military organizations in the Pacific Northwest used the center for range firing and small unit tests. The first range was constructed in 1942 on Umptinum Ridge, 13 miles northeast of the present Cantonment area. In 1947, approximately 60,000 acres were cleared of unexploded ammunition and returned to the original owners. During 1949 and 1950, the state of Washington used the center for summer training of its National Guard units, and regular Army troops were permanently assigned to the center. At the start of the Korean War, the Army decided to expand Yakima Training Center. In 1951, the installation was enlarged to 261,451 acres and construction of the current cantonment area began. In 1986, a further expansion was initiated, and in 1992, the Army acquired additional land to enlarge YTC to 327,000 acres. The multi-purpose range complex opened in 1989, and the shoot house and urban assault course opened in 2005. YTC has an AAFES Chapet, a recreation center and a gymnasium available to soldiers and their families. The Firing Point Community Club, with cafeteria, opened in February 2009. Gray Army Airfield equals. Gray Army Airfield is a military airport located within Fort Lewis. The field is named in honor of Captain Lawrence C. Gray, who lost his life during a free balloon flight at the field on November 4, 1927. It is used by Army helicopters. Helicopters based at the airfield assisted with medical evacuations at Mount Rainier National Park on numerous occasions in the 1970s. Army helicopters were also used to insert search and rescue (SAR) teams into inaccessible areas on the east, north, and west sides of the mountain, lowering ranges to the ground by a cable device known as a jungle penetrator. Helicopters began assisting with high-altitude SAR operations in the 1980s. Helicopters were also used for short-haul rescue operations, in which a ranger and litter were carried in a sling below the helicopter to the scene of the accident. During World War II, the Air Transport Command 4131st Army Air Force Base Unit used GAAF as the CONUS hub for the Alaskan West Coast Wing, ferrying supplies, equipment and aircraft to 11th Air Force at Elmendorf Field, near Anchorage. Also used by Air Technical Service Command as an aircraft maintenance and supply depot. Primarily to service aircraft being sent to Alaska. The Army Air Force closed its facilities in 1947. Geography. According to the United States Census Bureau, the CDP has a total area of 15.9 square miles, of which 15.3 square miles of it is land and 0.6 square miles of it is water. The total area is 3.78% water. The military base is, as previously stated, much larger than the CDP defined by the Census Bureau. Fort Lewis terrain is primarily a mixture of dense conifer woods and open Puget Prairie Garry Oak woodlands. Invasive Scotch broom has taken over many areas. The landscape is very rocky from glacial meltwater deposits. Poison oak is found in the training areas. Canada thistle grows thickly in some areas. All trees are to be left standing. Post policy prohibits cutting or trimming them. The temperatures during summer vary from the mid-40s at night to the mid-70s during the day, occasionally peaking over 90°F Fahrenheit. Although July and August are the driest months. Demographics: the census-designated place Fort Lewis is located within the installation's area. As of the 2000 census, the CDP, which includes the most densely populated part of the base, had a total population of 19,089. As of the census of 2000, there are 19,089 people, 3,476 households, and 3,399 families residing on the base. The population density is 1,248.5 people per square mile. There are 3,560 housing units at an average density of 232.8 per square mile. The racial makeup of the base is 60.4% white, 20.3% African American, 1.4% Native American, 3.4% Asian, 1.8% Pacific Islander, 6.2% from other races, and 6.4% from two or more races. 13.1% of the population are Hispanic or Latino of any race. There are 3,476 households, out of which 85.8% have children under the age of 18 living with them, 89.3% are married couples living together, 6.6% have a female householder with no husband present, and 2.2% are non-families. 2.0% of all households are made up of individuals and 0.0% have someone living alone who is 65 years of age or older. The average household size is 3.75 and the average family size is 3.78. The age distribution is 32.1% under the age of 18, 28.0% from 18 to 24, 37.5% from 25 to 44. 2.0% from 45 to 64 and 0.4% who are 65 years of age or older. The median age is 22 years. For every 100 females there are 168.3 males. For every 100 females age 18 and over, there are 212.5 males. All these statistics are typical for military bases. The median income for a household on the base is $32,384, and the median income for a family is $32,251. Males have a median income of $20,878 versus $20,086 for females. The per capita income for the base is $12,865. 8.2% of the population and 7.1% of families are below the poverty line. Out of the total population, 10.7% of those under the age of 18 and 0.0% of those 65 and older are living below the poverty line. See also. References. Further reading: Alan R. Humboldt, Fort Lewis, Arcadia Publishing, 2002. ISBN 0-7385-2051-9. External links: Fort Lewis homepage, Fort Lewis history, United States Army Environmental Command, 3rd Brigade/2nd Infantry Division homepage, 5th Brigade/2nd Infantry Division homepage, 42nd Military Police Brigade homepage, BRAC 2005, closings, realignments to reshape infrastructure.